Okay, all right. We are getting started with something called as SQL Server. All right. So, what is SQL Server? Has anybody heard of it before? All right. So, we are going to get started with something called as database. Okay. Anybody knows what is database? What is data? Don't have to go till database. Then, what is data? Collection of collection of information is data. Okay. That's one way to say that. But generally, whatever you see here, right? It's data. It is talking about something, right? It is related to something, or it speaks about somebody, some person. It describes some item. A lot of things. Everything that you see, it's data only, right? So we need to store and manage data in a proper way, right? That is why we are learning something called as a database, right? So the source for the source of data can come from anywhere. Okay, the source of data can come from anywhere. Let's say, for example, you have this Facebook account. Everybody knows how to create a Facebook account, right? You go to Google, search for Facebook sign up. That is just a web page. Okay, this is just a web page which takes information, or it takes data from the user, and what it does is it stores in a place. Okay, that place where the data is stored is called as a database. The place where the data is stored as is called as a database. Okay, the data is just raw data. Let's say, for example, if I just write Barun, okay, I'll write 25, 23, okay, I'll write some random data here. Okay. So whatever data that I'm writing here, it does not have a description. You don't know whether 25 is his roll number or 25 is his age, or there is no proper description for all the data. So if I want to store somebody's data, right, and I'm storing it in a file, like Word document, like that, want to store 1 lakh people's data inside a Word document. How difficult it will be to find out one person's data out of that. You have to search through every record, okay, every line you should search to find one person's data, which is a lot of time consuming, right? So that is why we will be learning two types of databases. One type of databases is relational database. The other one will be non-relational database. The other one will be non-relational database. The difference between relational and non-relational that you should know now is in relational database, you will be storing data in the form of tables. You will be storing data in the form of tables. In non-relational database, you will be storing it in the form of files, like how we generally store it. Okay, there are disadvantages and advantages for both of them. Okay, right now you will be learning something called as a relational database. Okay, inside a relational database, we will be storing all the data in the form of tables. Okay, in tables, what we will have? Rows and columns. Yeah, and in non-relational database, we will be having files. Okay, files means JSON files, CSV files. Those are all still ways of storing data only ultimately. Okay, but there are two different types depending on how we store the data. If it is in the form of files, then it is a non-relational database, and this is a relational database. So as I told you, I have some data like this. Okay, nobody knows which is first name, which is last name. Okay, if I write 25, 23, it doesn't make sense. So it is just raw data. Whatever data that we have, it is just raw data. We need to store it in a place where some more meaning is getting added to the data. Okay, raw data does not have any meaning. Okay? If we have to make it more meaningful, then only the raw data can be converted into some sort of an information. Raw data with some meaning, right? With some data processing, it becomes information. That is why people say process the data is called as information. Process the data is called as information. Okay. So I'll show you one example of how that Facebook data, whichever that application is taking, right? How is that data actually stored in your database? In the case of relational database, I will show you, and then we'll move on to the other example. For example, I will take a particular table here. I will show you how a table looks like. So this is how a table will look like. Okay, the table will consist of two components. One is rows. This is horizontal rows, and these are the first. These are all rows, right? And these are all columns. First name, last name, email ID, gender. Those are all columns. Okay. How are we storing all the data in a meaningful way? Is, let's say, for example, you can see the application here. Here, what people will do, they will enter their first name. Here, what people will do, they will enter their last name. Like that, email ID, password, date of birth, gender. All these are just raw data. All these are just raw data. Okay. If we connect it with the proper file or something, no, it will be very difficult for us to read. Okay. So what the developers we will do is we will, if I write my name here, here I will write my last name here. What I will do is, this is a text box, right? This text box, whatever data I am entering, it should be automatically entered into first name column. Like this. Okay. Whatever data is entered in the surname text box is mapped with this. So we will map these text boxes with that particular column. So whatever data the user is giving in that box, right, automatically it should be redirected to that particular columns. Like that, email ID will be there, gender will be there. Okay, like that, all the data are updated. Okay. Now you can see Manish is stored inside some column name called first name. SR is something that is stored inside some column name called last name. Like that, if you take any data from this table, right? If you want to find out, let's say Jerry Ofer is here. Okay. Jerry is somebody's first name. How do we know that? Because we are storing it inside this column name called first name. And Ofer is somebody's last name. Okay. So because it's stored in the column name called last name. Okay. Ofer is somebody's last name, and whose last name? How do you know that? Yeah, because all of them belong to the same row. So the data belongs to the column. But that means the data is having some relationship with the column, and the data is also having the relationship with the row also. That is why it is called as a relational database. That is why it is called as a relational database. The data inside the table are related to each other. Okay. Suddenly, if I say, give me email ID of first name as Jerry. So what it will do, it will go to email column. It will search wherever that email is there. In which row it will search? Wherever Jerry is there. So first what it will do in the entire table, first name is equal to Jerry is the condition I have given. Okay. So what it will do, it will search which all rows are having first name as Jerry. In all those rows, email ID will be updated. Yeah, like that, all the data are interrelated to each other, especially all the row is speaking about one person. Okay, every column is speaking about different types of data that they have. Here, so ID is all numbers. Okay, first name, last name, both are string values. If string values means it can have anything. It can have letters, numbers, special characters, or spaces. Okay, special characters. Why do we have to use special characters? Because see, email ID is having at the rate. Okay, email ID is having 1, 2, 3. Some numbers also it can have. .com is a dot is also one special character only. Okay, it will have letters, everything. So you should use a string value where you can use anything. Yeah, so these are all different data types. This is a different data type. Yeah, so for every column, it will have one column name also, and it will have one data type also. Therefore, if I say ID as integers, okay, only integer values you can store into that particular column. If I say first name as string, you can store anything inside that particular value. Yeah. If I say float or decimal, you can store only decimal values into that. Like that, you can store date. For date, there is a format, year, month, and date. So in that format only, data will be stored, right? So like that, every column will have its own data type. While creating itself, we will say that this particular column will have this particular data type only. So by mistake in name column, if somebody is putting numbers, it should not allow. Like that in ID column, by mistake, if somebody is putting characters, it should not allow. Right? some people was where we will do mistakes is while writing rupees. Let's say if you want to enter only 2000 rupees, but you don't want to put any symbols. So what you will do, you will keep that as integers. In phone numbers, if you don't want to write plus 9 1 and all, no, plus is a special character. If you give your column name as integer, that plus it will not allow. Like that, to make the data more accurate, we will use data types in SQL Server, right? So this is how a table will look like. Okay, if somebody clicks on the sign up button, automatically all the data should flow from the design page to the database page. To the database page. This is how you will be storing data in the form of tables. And this is the advantage of storing data in the form of tables. Why? Because you can store 1 lakh records, you can store 2 lakh records, 3 lakh records, how much ever data that you want, you can store it inside your SQL server, which is very similar to Excel sheets. Very similar to Excel sheets. How your Excel sheet will look like, right? It will also have rows, it will also have columns, but there you cannot write SQL queries. There you cannot write SQL queries, and there is a limit, maximum 1 lakh some amount of rows only you can create. Here, unlimited of rows you can create, and you can query your data. Say I will select email ID from table where name is equal to Jerry. If I say, automatically it will give me the email ID. Okay, like that I can give instructions and I can get data. Okay, so to whom are we giving instructions? What all we need to install? Who is doing the storage part? All of these things. Who is giving the instruction? All these things we will discuss now. Okay, so when I say relational database, so as I told you, in relational databases we store. In relational databases, we'll have tables. Inside tables, we'll have rows and columns. One row and one column is there, right? See, in this row, first name column, what did I have? Only Sydney. Yeah, that is called as a cell. That one block is there, right? Sydney. That one block is a cell. So one row and one column, if we join, that is called as a cell. Inside that cell, we will have data. We will have data. Okay. Now, a lot of people are getting confused between SQL and SQL Server. Okay. The name server itself is telling you, right? A server means it is the person who is doing the job for you. It's not the actual meaning, but your server is like a virtual server here. Okay, what it does is it does the job for you. It is like your go-to person if you want to, do some operations with the database. Okay? He will execute the job for you. He will get the job done. Right? What I will do, I will give instructions to that fellow. He will do the job and how, in which data, in which table I should store, which data, in which row I should. So I have to give instructions. Okay. So I will give instructions in the form of SQL. SQL abbreviation is structured query language. SQL is a language in which I can give instructions. Okay, but I will give instructions to whom? This fellow called SQL Server. SQL Server is a Microsoft product. Okay. Otherwise, SQL Server is called as RDBMS. Okay. So before learning what is RDBMS, you should understand what is a database. Should understand what is a database. Okay. So let's say, for example, I have Amir, this level up institute is there, right? Let's say I have this level up institute in 3 different places. One in Amirpet, one in Kukatpalli, one in High-Tech City. For example, let's take 3 places. Okay. Now you guys students are there, you are going to join in level up Amirpet, right? And some students are joining in level up Kukatpalli, some students are joining in level up High-Tech City. Okay. So what I will do, I will create 3 databases, like let's say level up underscore Amirpet. Okay, this is nothing but the database. Inside database, what will we have? Tables. Okay, so in tables, what all tables we can create? We can create Python. Python students, all we can put in one table. Java students, everybody we can put in one table. Cloud data engineers in one table, data scientists in one table, all like that I can create For which institute? Level Up Amirpet Institute. Same like that, I will create another database called as Level Up Kukatpalli. In Level Up Kukatpalli, again Python, Java, data science, cloud data engineering, like that. I will create different tables, and I will store data about those students. Like that, same I'll do it for IDEX CD. I should not mix the students. No, you guys are joining in Amirpet. I cannot store your data inside Kukatpalli. It's not possible, right? So what we will do is similar kinds of data we will store together in one database, and another set of data we will be storing it in another database. That's all. Database is not a physical. Lot of people have this mentality where database is a physical thing in their computer. No, all the data are stored inside your storage only. What storage? That 256 GB RAM, sorry, ROM, okay, ROM they will say, right? 256 GB SSD, HDD they will say, right? That is where your data is stored, okay? But that data will be divided into separate databases according to our requirement. Okay, I'll give you another example. Let's say, for example, everybody watches IPL. Anybody knows what is their teams? You will know, right? So let's say I will create one database called as IPL. Okay. In IPL, what we will do, we will have multiple tables, right? So tables will be every team, whatever team is there, CSK, Mumbai, Delhi, a lot of teams are there, right? Every team will be one table. Okay. Inside every table, what we will do, that particular what can I say? That particular team's players will be there. Yeah, that will be let's say I'm writing CSK as table. Inside that, we'll have rows and columns. In rows and columns, what we'll have jersey number, player name, like that columns we will have, and then player names we will have in rows. This is how the data will flow. Okay. Same thing I'm taking in as national team. In national team also and IPL team also, same people will be there. Okay, but or let's say we can take some other league. Let's say Pakistan Super League is there. Okay. Can I store Pakistan Super League teams inside IPL? No. So IPL is a separate database. That is a separate database. If any other league is there, let's say a league from South Africa is there. Okay, that I will create it as a separate database. I should not mix these people, right? So similar kind of data together will be segregated into different databases. That's all. It is not a physical thing that is available on your computer. Okay? So that let's say I'm creating a database like IPL means I have some data in my hand. I will say put this data into this particular table inside this particular database. I will give instructions. Listening to that instructions, SQL server will do the job for me. Okay, like that, I will have multiple databases. Okay, let's say when I used to work for companies like my clients were ICICI, okay, SBI, or Kotak. Kotak was my major client. So all these people are different clients. But Kotak's data accounts and all, if you put it in SBI, will they accept? ICICI, if I put it in SBI, will they accept? No. So everybody should be working with different databases. Okay, like that in your company also, every task or every client or every software will have different databases. Okay, so you need to manage all the databases from one place. No, for that you will have something called as relational database management system, otherwise called as RDBMS, otherwise called as SQL Server. SQL Server is your RDBMS. Okay? RDBMS is basically the person who executes the job. He manages all the databases from one place. Yeah. So whatever task in whichever database, in whichever table you want to update or insert or delete or see something, the person will do the job for you. Okay. Only thing that you need to do is give instructions properly. Okay. And the instructions are also very easy. It is not some foreign language that using. It is just commonly how you speak in English, right? Those commands have been converted. Those sentences have been converted into SQL commands. It's very easy to learn. Any fresher, anybody can learn this SQL. Okay. It's very easy to learn. Well, all you have to do is understand the syntax and understand the logic. Syntax also you can find it online. Okay. Online, anybody can write the syntax. You need to understand the logic. If you can understand the logic, coding is very easy. Okay. All the same things like if conditions, variables. Same stuff are applied here also. Okay, only the syntax will be different. So as a developer, what you need to understand is the programming logic. Okay. So what we will be teaching you is the logic only, and it will be 80%, 85% it will be practical only. Okay. If this is the task you want to do, what command you should write? If this is all the variations, all the errors that you might get, all the you know, all the topics, all the logics that you need to understand. Even if you are writing one line of code also, you should understand why you are writing that. You should learn it in that particular perspective. Then only you can understand what is going on. Or if somebody gives you a new task, right? You will not be dependent on some online source, or you will not be dependent on some other senior to get your job done. If you can understand the logic, you can implement that by yourself. Yeah. Lot of interviews that you are facing, nobody will test your syntax, nobody will test your theoretical knowledge. Nobody cares about your 9.0 CGPA. Yeah, they will only understand whether they will only look for people who understood the logic. If you can understand the logic, even if you don't know the theory, also you will learn. Yeah, if you know Python, they are asking you to work with Java. But if you know all the programming logics, no, you can easily switch to Java. Only the words, only the syntaxes will be different. Logic will be the same. Yeah. So what we will do is we will learn this technology called as SQL Server, which is nothing but a relational database management system. Inside relational database management system, there will be multiple relational databases. Inside each relational databases, there will be tables. Inside tables, we'll have rows and columns. Inside one row and one column, a cell will be there. Inside one cell, one data will be there. That is the flow that you need to understand. Clear? Understood? All right. So what we need to do is we need to install two things. As I told you, you need to install SQL Server, which is the engine. It performs the job for you. Okay. And one more thing you need to install is called as SSMS. This is what is SSMS. Okay, which I'm using now. This is the place where you will write the code, you will execute the code, all the things will happen here. It is just an interface, but actual job is done by this person here, SQL Server. Okay. My PC name, whatever is there, right? That will be the name of my server also, because I downloaded the server from online, and now my PC became the server. Okay. So inside this server, can you see there is one folder called as databases? Okay, inside that, all the databases that you have created till now, everything will be visible. Everything will be visible. Inside database, okay, there is one folder called as tables. Inside tables, what we will have? So these are all the tables that I have. Inside one table, you will have columns. Inside columns, basically, we'll have all the data. Here, the primary pillars, right? If you want to build a building, you need the pillars, right? The pillars of a table is columns. So when you are creating the table, right, first you will create the columns. After that, if you have data, then only you will insert. Without columns, you cannot create a table. But without rows, you can create a table. Okay, so columns are very, very important part of your table. So while creating the table, first you will create the table name. After that, you will create what all columns will be there in my table. After that, we can insert rows if you want. Yeah. So what I will do, I'll quickly show you how to create your first table. Okay. I don't want to waste time on day one. Okay. And installing this will take a lot of time. Okay. So let's not waste time installing this on class. What I will do, I'll ask you to create, I'll teach you how to create a table. Going home, you can create multiple tables of your choice, and you can keep it aside for practice. So whatever I'm teaching on class, right, I will give you one common table. So what I will do, there is one table called as mock data table. I will show you how to install that table. And then what I will do is I'll share the table with everybody. So whatever query I'm writing, I'll get some result out of that, right? That result, you can make sure that you are getting the same result or not. If you're not getting the same result, let's find out why you are not getting the same result. If that is how you need to compare and learn. After that, same queries, whatever I'm writing, you can apply it on your own tables so that you can understand different variations. So first I will show you how to create this table. Okay, and then I'll give you an online compiler. In there, you can practice creating tables. Tomorrow, what we will do is we will install our SQL server, and then what we will do is I'll tell you how to install that particular table also, and then we can start working on other operate, right? So the first command to create the table is create table. Okay, create table is the command to create table. That's all. So how we speak in English, right? Like that only SQL will be there. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to give one name for my table. We need to give one name for my table. But before that, you guys are missing something. Before creating tables, what we need to create? Database. So first we need to create a database. Inside the database only we should be creating tables. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll write a query to create a database. That is also very simple. What you need to do is create database. I'm going to say SQL underscore. That's all. Create database name. Okay. One thing that you should keep in mind while naming database also, or while naming tables also, or while naming columns also, you should not give space. In between, you should not give space. So instead of saying SQL space Amirpet, what you can do is you can say SQL underscore Amirpet, or just say SQL Amirpet. Simple as that. Yeah, you can use underscore so that you can differentiate between two words. You cannot give space. Yeah. So how to execute a code in SQL is just select them, click on execute, automatically it will do. That's all. Nothing to do. Create database name. Simple as that. So, but here it is not visible. Right? Just right click here. There is one button called as refresh. If you refresh it, you will be able to see that particular database. Okay. Now we need to go to that database and then start creating our tables. So where do we choose our database? So we are writing a lot of commands, create table command, delete from table, a lot of commands we are writing, but that should be applicable on a particular database, right? So it should not be done on master. Okay, master model, MSDB and TempDB, all these are system databases. Those are created for systems purposes. You should not disturb that connection. Okay. So whenever it is on master, the first not only on master, whatever you do, when you're opening SQL Server Management Studio, the first thing you should do is click on new query button, create a new page. Second immediate thing that you need to do is choose the database. Yeah. As I told you, I cannot mix ICICI with other databases or SBI with other databases, right? So the most important thing that you need to do is choose the database. After that, you can choose the. After that, you can create tables, delete tables, a lot of things you can do. Okay? So first, choose the database. I have created one database called as SQL Amirpet. So click on that, and then whatever query you are writing in this page will be applied directly on the database. Okay. So now let's learn how to create a table very quickly. Okay, simple table, create table. As I told you, just now it left, sorry. So create table. Okay, now I need to give a name for my table. Okay, let's say for example, I want to say data science. I have batch 9. Something. So let's say data science underscore 9, something like that. However, I want, I can name it. There is no restrictions or rules for that. Only rule is don't give any space between them. Yeah, capital, small, that and all doesn't matter in SQL. You can write capital also, you can write small also. There is no difference between that. Okay. So create table name. I'll open close brackets. I should open close brackets here. Inside the table, what did I tell you? We'll have pillars. What are those pillars? Columns. Yeah, you saw right, vertical columns from up to down, whatever you saw, all those are columns. Okay, so first you need to create columns. After that, if you want, we can create rows. Okay, so let's say I will give one roll number for all my students. So what I will do, roll number, something like this. Okay, all the roll numbers will be numbers or it can have letters. We need to decide that first. Some roll numbers are nowadays having letters also. Okay, but my table is not having any data. Now only I'm going to start writing data. So I feel like numbers is good enough. Right? So what I will do, I will give the data type as integer. First, you should write column name. then you should write the data type. As I told you, why we should write data type is, if I say the data type as integers, users can enter only integers inside that. It will restrict your table. Okay. This is one column. After writing one column, put one comma. Put one comma. Write another column. So let's say student name. Student name will be one data type called as varchar. Okay. Varchar is nothing but string values. As I told you, string can accept anything. But the important thing is you have to give strings in single quotes. Yeah, it can accept any data inside that as long as it is given inside single quotes. Okay. I gave 10 here. Why? Because it can accept 10 characters. It can accept 10 characters. Okay. After that, we can have DOB. Okay. This should not be integer. Okay. There is a special data type called date. Okay, which is having one specific format. It is having year. First, you should mention 2024 hyphen 09. That is nothing but month. Okay, and then what is the date now? 23, right? That will be date. In this format only, you should give date for SQL Server. Here, year, month, and date. Yeah. Also, integers cannot accept big numbers. Okay? It can accept only 10 digits starting with 2. 10 digits starting with 2. But our phone numbers, Indian phone numbers generally start with 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. And it is also having 10 digits or more. Okay? Indian phone numbers will have 10 digits only. But let's say you take PAN card number, okay, not PAN card number, Aadhaar card number or bank account number, those will all have more than 10 digits. So if you want to store big numbers like that, you cannot use integer. You cannot use integer. So what you need to do is, let's say I'm going to write phone number, because our phone numbers are starting with 6, right? The phone number will be something called as big int. It will have a bigger range of storage. Int, big int, all these data types are already predefined. It has predefined size. Okay. Varchar, we need to give size for that. That is why in brackets I have given 10. So including spaces, including special characters, including letters and numbers, totally 10. Totally 10 only it can accept. If you give anything more than 10, it will say, I'm not able to insert. Clear? Understood? Anything else we can add about one student? You can say course or amount paid. Okay, amount paid can sometimes be, after calculating all the GST and everything, right? You can have in paisa also. Let's say 19,500.45, something like that you are getting. That also you should be able to store, right? So that is why you will use something called as float. You will use something called as float. When you want to store decimal numbers, you can use something called as float. Clear? Understood? That's all. Yeah. These are the major data types that you have to know. Okay. So you have to open brackets and you have to close the brackets here. In between open and close brackets, you will create the column names. You should give some space, write the data type, and then put comma. Okay. You should give comma everywhere except for the last line. Because everywhere after that line, one more line is there. So you are giving comma. But after the last column called amount paid, I don't have any column, so I'm not giving comma there. Clear? So what you need to do for execution, select everything, click on execute. The table got created. Table got created. Now, how will I see my table? Select star from that table name. Select star from table name. Okay. Select star means all columns. Select star means all columns. A lot of people are having a confusion in this. Okay. Some people think select star means all rows and columns. No. Select star means select all columns. That is why if I go near the star, it is showing me all the column names. Okay. So when I select all the columns, I am not saying which column to select. That is why if I say star, all the columns are showing me. Same like that, I am not saying which row to select. That is why if I select this, all the rows will show. Yeah, but technically it is not a command to show all the rows. But since the number of rows that is to be selected is incomplete, it will assume to show all the rows. Yeah. So right now we don't have any rows, so it will only show us the columns that we have created. We have created only 5 columns. So all the columns I am able to see. Now, how will I insert some values? The command is also very same. What do I need to do in this? I have some data in my hand. I want to insert into this table. So the command is also same. Insert into what is the table name? This is the table name. Okay. What are all the columns that I need to enter? I need to enter into roll number, student name, date of birth, phone number, and amount paid. So what I will do, I'll open close brackets here. Okay, I will specifically say which columns to insert and which columns not to insert. So what I will do, I'll say roll number, comma, student name, comma, date of birth, comma, phone number, comma, amount. Okay. These are all the columns that I want to enter. What do I want to enter inside the column? Some values. Right? So I'll write this keyword called as values. Again, open close brackets. In the same order in which you have written the column, right? The same order you should enter the data also. 1, comma. Okay. Student name, let's take okay. Date of birth is having some hyphen and all. Right? Hyphen is a special character. So you need to put that in single quotes. So what you need to do, let's say first you need to write year. So 1995 hyphen then month hyphen day. So it's a 25. Yeah. Now what else we need to enter? Phone number. Phone number is also integer. So for that you don't need single quotes. Directly write some phone number like this. After that, how much amount paid? Let's say it is paid around 20,000.5 something. So that's it. This is how you will be entering your data. Okay. One row got affected. Now, if I execute this query, all the one row has been created. Like that, I can create multiple rows with multiple students with multiple amount paid, phone number, whatever data. Clear? Understood? So if you want to execute, if you want to write different data, just remove this and put new data. Or what you do, copy paste it multiple times. For every row, you put different data and you can execute. Or what you can do is you can copy the data part alone, copy, comma, paste, comma. Multiple times you can paste this and change the data. You can say this will be roll number 2. This will be roll number 3. Let's change this name as so change the roll numbers, change all the data if you want. Okay. Now if you execute it, all the rows will be inserted at once. Clear? Nothing. I just copied the data part, pasted it multiple times with commas separating all the rows. So 5 rows will be created at the same time. Clear? Everybody understood? Can you create your own tables? Yeah. So what I will do, I'll give you this website. It's a very simple one. It is an online editor for SQL Server. Okay, so tomorrow what you do is create any 3 tables of your choice. You can create any 3 tables of your choice and you can insert some values.